All right, Power BI Report Server. It's the session you were all waiting for, right? All right, there we go. All right. Good. Cool. All right, well, Power BI Report Server, self-service BI and enterprise reporting on premises. I don't want anyone on Twitter saying we spelled on premises wrong, and it was on premise. No, it's on premises. My name is Chris Finland. I am a senior program manager on the Power BI Report Server team, the SSRS team. Very, very excited to be here with you folks today. This is actually the first time I've been to Ignite. I've been to what was Tech Ready in the past, and I've also been to Tech Ed, SharePoint conference, things like that in the past. Last time I was in Orlando for a conference, large conference, I was actually at SAP, at Sapphire. So it's great to be back here after a few years, talking to all you folks. I know there was a lot of interest in this session. We have a lot to go over today. I'm here all week, much to the chagrin of my wife. So I am here the entire week. Afterwards, I'll be available for questions Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm in the booth each morning. So if I don't get to your question here, if I don't cover your topic here, you have plenty of time to corner me and ask your question. I'm more than happy to chat with you. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, what is Power BI Report Server? A lot of questions around just, hey, what is this new thing that the Power BI team has introduced? How can I get it? How can I move my reports to it? What's the product lifecycle look like? How often is it upgraded? You know, I have to make these plans. And then, hey, what's coming in the product? What's in the product now? And then what's the roadmap going forward? And again, I'll do my best to try and answer questions throughout the session. I generally like these things to be interactive. My wife will tell you 75 minutes of me talking straight is torture. So I will try to get some back and forth going in this session as much as possible. It is a large crowd. Feel free to sit in the reserve seats, by the way. As I mentioned earlier, I don't have an entourage. All right, I don't have all these people here to work on this deck, so feel free. Yes, no, you don't count as an entourage. All right. So, like I said, my name is Chris Finland. I am a member of the Reporting Services Power BI Report Server team. I've been at Microsoft now for a little over 4 years. Before that, I was actually at SAP for 10 years. I worked internally at SAP, worked in sales operations, did a lot of the internal reporting analytics for some of the different groups. I was the guy who used the Microsoft stack inside of SAP because I love the Microsoft stack. I supported the Salesforce there, and I couldn't stand the Salesforce. I mean, this was just my first, so then I went to move to Microsoft and pre-sales. So I became what I hated in terms of the blue blazer, everything going around. I actually loved talking to customers in the Mid-Atlantic. I was actually based in Philadelphia, lived there for much of my life, and really, really enjoyed getting to know all these customers in the Mid-Atlantic district. And then after a couple of years, I said to my wife, hey, why don't we move across the country to Seattle? And she was thrilled at this prospect. But I took her in July, so that was a good trick because it was very, very pretty there. And then in December, she said, you tricked me. Okay, so been on the team now for a couple of years. You know, I can't tell you how excited the team is about the excitement in the community around this product. You know, one of the reasons why I think, frankly, I haven't been before is that I sometimes have a tendency to stray off script. I'd rather have trouble for telling you the truth as opposed to telling you a lie. So I'm more than happy to tell you speak my mind. And this was kind of reinforced. My son said, good luck, Dad, don't get fired. All right, my son is 8. He's already very sarcastic like his old man. So, you know, I'm very excited to be here. One of the things I'm going to ask you guys as a favor before we get started. We are very, very lucky to have 2 members of the engineering team from Power BI Report Server and SQL Server Reporting Services here on site. One of the gentlemen, Reece Schmidtke, is over here to my left. Another gentleman, Parth Shah, is actually down at the booth. This represents 10% of the engineering team. It's a small team of superstars. They do a phenomenal job. I would ask you all to give these folks a round of applause with me for the work that they've done on this product. This team has knocked out again and again things we didn't think we could get done. They've continued to deliver. You have a chance to talk to both of them while they're here this week. And one of the things both Reece and Parth are working on is scheduled data refresh. So you get to corner them and play stump the jump with them as opposed to me in terms of what's going on behind the scenes there and what you'll be able to do and not do. All right? There are evaluations at the end of this session. One of the things I'll say, this is kind of like when you go and buy a car and they say, hey, if you're not going to give me a 10, give me a call because I want to try and change your mind because I really need that 10. So you have all week if you're not going to give me a 5, where I can try and change your mind and give us that highest rating. But again, I want you guys to be honest. We really do value your feedback here. And why don't we go ahead and dive in? All right. What is Power BI Report Server? Well, it is an ability for you to take your Power BI reports and use them in your data center or on premises. It is built on SSRS. It is SSRS under the covers for all intents and purposes. This is very, very important. It has been very confusing to people, trying to understand, hey, can I use this and SSRS? Should I install them both? What do they do? Under the covers, this is SSRS. It is SSRS with new functionality added on in terms of Power BI report support. And in the August preview, you've seen we've added Excel work. This is also important to keep in mind because one of the first questions we get is, oh great, this is Power BI on-prem. When do I get dashboards? When do I get Q&A? When do I get these other things that are currently in the cloud service? And I'll tell you a little anecdote here. When we first started talking about the architecture of this product and the plans for this product, I can remember very clearly, we were in a meeting room, and the head of the Pro BI team, a gentleman named TK Anand, was sitting there. We're talking, and he said, if the intention was to build an on-premises solution that did exactly what the cloud was, why would we build it on SSRS? And that's a very important point. This is meant to be a solution that is designed for your reports and to give you an ability to use Power BI desktop reports along with the other reports that you get in SSRS in your data center. These other things are not currently on the roadmap or planned to be added to the product. Now, could these things come along at some point? Sure. But that's not currently the intention or the plan of the product team. At some point, I could grow a full head of hair. There's a better chance of dashboards than that, but still, you get my point here in terms of what you can do with the product. It's also meant to give you the ability to move to your cloud on your own terms. I think this is very important when we talk about how do you acquire the product. The reason for this is because one of the ways you can acquire a product is something called Power BI Premium, which some of you may have heard. How many people have heard of Power BI Premium before? Okay, so a lot of you here have heard of that. It's great. That's one of the ways you can get the product. We'll talk a little bit about how it's licensed and why that's an important point. I talk to a lot of organizations that have certain groups that say, I can't move my data to the cloud because of X, Y, Z. Perfectly valid reasons. Then I have other groups in the organizations like, all of our data is in the cloud. We're using Power BI today. These are the types of organizations where Power BI Premium makes a lot of sense. You're probably sitting there thinking, oh, Finland, you marketing shill. Of course you're going to tell us that. Well, first of all, marketing hates me. All right, you can ask them here later in terms of that. But I wouldn't tell you something like this if I didn't believe in it. There really is some value in this, and I see a lot of customers who don't quite have a great understanding of actually what the value is of Premium and why it would be a good fit for their organization. So we'll go into all that as we move through this. So as I mentioned, it includes all of your SSRS functionality. There is no reason, except in some edge cases, for you to be running both SSRS and Power BI Report Server. Love using Report Builder? Great, you can use that with Power BI Report Server. You have a bunch of RDL reports from way back? Great, you can use that with Power BI Report Server. Like the new mobile reports that came along in SQL Server 2016, you can use that in Power BI Report Server. All of this functionality is in the product. Under the covers, it is SSRS. There are multiple ways you can consume this, just like you could in SQL Server 2016. How many people here are using SSRS 20, have used the product? Okay, so about a little over half. That's a great number there in terms of people using it. So again, to talk about migration, ways to move your data over there, ways to move your reports over there, and get started right on Power BI Report Server. And again, enterprise-ready solution. All the things you've done before in the past with SSRS will still work here. Some people love using SSDT or SQL Server Data Tools, Visual Studio for the publication of their traditional reports. You can do that. You've used the execution logs for years. You can look at that as well. So at the end of the day, this is SSRS under the covers when it comes to all the tools and functionality you've used to in the past with SSRS. And by the way, I think it's amazing just seeing the number of people in this room, the number of people who've used 2016, because when I joined the field in 2013, they said, whatever you do, don't talk to customers about SQL Server Reporting Services. That thing is out of date. We're talking about new stuff here with Power BI, and the team has really made a big difference in terms of the last couple of years of what you can do, the look and feel of this product, and that's the plan we have going forward, is to continue that momentum to give you guys this great functionality. One of the new things we introduced with this product, based on customer feedback, is the ability to do a standalone installation. We talked to a lot of customers about this ability to upgrade more rapidly than you could in the past with SQL Server. So we broke out the installation process for both Power BI Report Server and SQL Server Reporting Services 2017, which, as you heard, I think earlier today, that 2017 is going to go to GA on October 2nd. Sorry, I get cotton mouth hips here sometimes. So you're going to have a lightweight, separate installer for both of these to allow us to iterate more rapidly on the product. This is really, really important when we want to, one of the first things we hear is, this is great, when's the update coming for this so I can get this in the desktop? We couldn't have this as a heavy-duty installation. We had to have a way for you to more rapidly install this and that we could have a little bit more control over the release cycle. So we can handle things like critical bug fixes really quickly. New features come along, we can adjust our release cadence accordingly. We'll talk about the plans right now about how often we'll be releasing each year. And as you know, if you know, this released originally in June. We had a preview in August of new functionality, but the preview is not production ready. It's meant to just be, hey, here's a sneak peek of what's coming in the next few months in the context of Power BI Report Server. But the product was originally released back on June 12th. So it's been out in GA a couple months. It is GA right now. We'll talk about the product capabilities that are there. But I know the preview was a little, I think there was some confusion around, hey, there's a preview coming out. I thought this was already GA. So that's some feedback we've taken. We're going to adjust accordingly in the future. Again, similar requirements in terms of using Windows Server, SQL Database Engine. Interesting thing here, SQL Server Analysis Services. For June, we only had the ability to publish Power BI reports that are connected to a live AS instance. With the August preview and then for the upcoming release here in the next few weeks or months, we will have the ability to connect to multiple data sources and publish it directly to the server without needing a separate SSAS instance. This is the number one thing by far that people have been asking for. You've got to experience that so far in the August preview, but without scheduled data refresh. That's exactly what Reese and Parth and others are working on right now, so you will have that ability with many data sources as of the update, fall-winter update. Sorry. Not giving anything away there. Okay, so as I mentioned, connecting to analysis services, it can be tabular or it can be multidimensional. You have the option to connect to either one, and that is supported with the Power BI Report Server in the browser. As I mentioned, in the 2017 preview, technically every data source was supported in the desktop because there is no scheduled data refresh. So once you create that data source and load it up, it just sits behind the scenes in what is an analysis services model. So wait, didn't Chris just tell us we didn't need analysis services as part of this? I did. One of the things that we learned in the past is Microsoft had things like Power Pivot and SharePoint. How many people are familiar with Power Pivot and SharePoint? All right. There was a specific dependency there where you had to have a separate analysis services instance running. It was running in Power Pivot mode that you would load your data, that the loaded data models would get loaded to. One of the things we were trying to do is simplify that experience as much as possible. So now AS, or SQL Server Analysis Services, is running under the covers of Power BI Report Server. So when you create this in Power BI Desktop, I have a lot of people say, oh, I don't use SQL Server Analysis Services. I create my model in the desktop and then load it up. Guess what, folks? SQL Server Analysis Services is driving all of that behind the scenes. And that's also important when you're thinking about, hey, how do I size and scale out this thing as I move forward? A lot of people run reporting services in the past in very underpowered hardware, or hardware that probably isn't scaled for running large data models on it. This is something that's going to change with this ability because you're going to allow your end users to potentially upload analysis services models to a server, and it's running under the covers there. So again, a lot has changed in the last several years in terms of RAM and other things being much, much cheaper and a little bit easier for you to scale this stuff out, but it is a consideration to keep in mind. And again, built-in custom visuals. Custom visuals are a big deal. We get a lot of people asking about this. All the custom visuals that are in the Office store should be supported. We did get some reports in the August preview that yes, some of the Office visuals were having some problems. It was a preview. I understand bugs do come up. We don't like to have them, but again, we've addressed those, and we're going to have that all working for you in the upcoming release. Is working in the June release as expected as well. Okay. I keeping your attention so far? Okay. I usually can tell by the number of people looking at their phone. My son being one of these people normally. So, publish to Power BI report server and managing and accessing your reports. This is all as it's been in SSRS in the past. So again, you have a folder structure, you have the ability to maintain access to those folders, to those individual reports. You have very granular access to these types of things. One of the things you can do with the Power BI reports that are connected live to AS is open them from the server, make some edits, and save it right back. So this is something that you are able to do right now with the product. This does present some challenges as we move into having embedded data models, or these data models where you're just connecting to other data sources in the product. We're working through exactly how we'll support that round-tripping experience, and it's something I'm happy to talk more about if there are more questions as we move through this. All right? So, enough of me talking the slides, let's go to a quick demo. All right. So, one of the things that I wanted to point out is, for this presentation, and for any of you out there, there is actually an image in Azure called Power BI Report Server. This is specifically designed for test dev and demo scenarios for folks like yourselves as you're talking about it internally, doing about development work, and it comes with a number of pre-made reports, specifically the traditional RDL reports, mobile reports, has Excel workbooks now, has Power BI reports. All of these things are all spun up as part of this. Other things that are also spun up is Office Online Server behind the scenes to run your Excel workbooks, analysis services to run some of your Power BI reports. I'm very proud of this because this was my idea, but we got a lot of people end up using this to do a lot of testing and a lot of demonstrations because, again, they were looking for an easy way to kind of set all of this up. I was telling you folks earlier, hey, the very first, I came in the past to Tech Ed here about 5 years ago. And a gentleman named Kai Unkruth, who's another PM on the team, was showing off SharePoint and BI and all the stuff you had to do to set that up. And it was so complex, he actually showed a video that ran through the stuff very quickly, and it took about 5 minutes just to show the video. Well, now you have a VM that'll actually spin up and run all that stuff for you in about the same amount of time it took him to run that video. So again, this is a great way to kind of experience this stuff in the context of Power BI Report Server. And what you get once you get that spun up is you get something like this. You're here on my homepage. I have KPIs, Power BI reports, mobile reports, Excel workbook, paginated reports. And again, if you've used SQL Server Reporting Services 2016, this should look very familiar. Because again, the look and feel of the portal is the direct iteration on what we introduced with SQL Server 2016 Reporting Services. And again, you can go in here and click on any of these reports. So if I click in Sample Customer Overview, this is a Power BI report that is running against a live AS instance on the machine, fully interactive here. So again, I can click on each of these items. It's fully interactive. It'll interact with my data accordingly. Everything you would expect from a Power BI type experience is here. The idea is when you look at a Power BI report in either the service or on-prem, eventually, and again, we're not quite there yet, but eventually it'll just look and feel exactly the same. Some things you don't quite see here, some of the export options you have in the service, et cetera. Those are all planned to be coming. One of the other items that we have here, we actually don't have in the service and will also be in SQL Server Reporting Services 2017, is this ability to add comments to a report. And this was directly influenced, some folks in the team were already interested in doing this idea, but I remember very specifically from my time at SAP, one of the things executives were always asking to do is, I want to leave a comment on this report. I want to put some feedback here very specifically around the state of this report. And so what we have here is the very simple ability to add a quick comment, attach a file. It can be a screenshot, it can be a PDF that gives some context to this so you can have this ongoing dialogue. And again, something else we have in the product also in 2017. So here, if I want to, I can just go edit in Power BI Desktop. Yep, I want to allow this. It'll open Power BI Desktop for me. I'm going to make a change to the report. and then I'm going to be able to save it back here in real time. And again, something that's very important for folks is this ability to kind of round trip their work, have this seamless experience inside the portal. So again, all the items come up here. I don't really want to use a pie chart because pie charts are bad. Nobody likes pie charts. All right. Then I save it back. You'll see a connection here. Hey, saving this report back to Power BI Report Server Service. And again, the text there will need to be updated. Save successfully. I close this, and then I can refresh my page. And you'll see here it's changed to a bar chart. All right. This is something that is very important to us in terms of getting your feedback on this experience. If there's things that are missing, there's things that you're unhappy with or happy with, please let us know. We very much value your feedback. We're constantly monitoring the forums, these types of events as well. And we want to hear what you guys think about what we're doing. In terms of some of the other stuff here, again, if you're not familiar with what you could do in SSRS 2016, one of the things that was very, very popular was this ability to apply a brand package. You know, your company's look and feel, your logo, your colors, and apply that to the entire portal. So here, if I go to upload brand package and I choose this AdventureWorks brand package, you see I get this beautiful modern looking, I'm being sarcastic, AdventureWorks brand package. You know, so a little anecdote here, I was giving marketing a hard time about this. It's actually one of the most popular tweets and blog posts I ever had. I was like, okay, you guys are right, those are very popular. So this was something that people, hey, they got a lot of value out of this, and it's great to use for your demos. So this is also available. So everything you're seeing here that I'm showing you, you can go up during this conference, after this conference, go Power BI Report Server in your Azure account, spin this up, and you're off and running. It's a great way to get started with the product without the heavy-duty setup that some people are just intimidated by. And the whole point of this product is that heavy-duty setup isn't as heavy-duty as you might think. All right. Any questions so far? Yes? That is an excellent question. So we asked if Power BI Desktop is still different from the online one, and it's an excellent question because I get to that in a few slides. So I will answer that shortly. Yes? We don't have subscriptions yet for Power BI reports. All of the traditional functionality around subscriptions, snapshots, et cetera, is still limited to what was in SSRS for quite some time. These are things that we're thinking about doing in an upcoming release. I can't give any timelines on that, but there's certainly been a lot of interest in things like that. Yes? So the question was around permissions and how you handle that in the report server. So as I mentioned, permissions and what we have in Power BI Report Server is the same as it was in SSRS throughout all the years. You handle permissions at a report level or at a folder level for content manager, browsers, things like that. We did introduce something, so you can customize all of this as you could do in SQL Server Reporting Services in the past. We did tweak a couple things in terms of now that we have comments, there, by default, a browser, or this is kind of the read-only level of permission in there, has the ability to add comments to any report they can see. There's actually now the ability to have browser without comments so you can prevent certain people from seeing the comments at all. This was to prevent things like, hey, I've got row-level security on a report. These comments don't make any sense for other users on the report. I don't want to show the comments at all, things like that. Did that answer your question? Okay, good. All right. So, jumping back. So, how do I get Power BI Report Server? See, I'm going to get to your question now, too. So, Power BI Premium, as I mentioned, this is a brand new thing the Power BI team has introduced back in May, where, again, you have this idea of dedicated resources in the cloud. So, I actually heard this quite a bit when I was in the field as well, is that there was a lot of interest in Power BI. However, there was a lot of concerns about, hey, you guys have been coming into my organization for years, and in fact, you wanted me to go change all my SQL licensing to core-based licensing. And you said one of the benefits was I wouldn't have to count all these users, right? Or at least that's what I thought they said as they were yelling about us changing the pricing from one thing to another. And so we got a lot of, eventually customers were like, yeah, this is great because now I can set up RS and I don't need to worry about the number of users I have just looking at reports. I don't have that many people creating reports in my organization, but everybody looks at them. Power BI Premium is designed to help alleviate that problem because you can buy Power BI Premium capacity, scale it up if necessary, and all of your view-only readers in an organization are covered. So all these people who occasionally look at a report, once in a while, you don't have to worry about having a personalized user license for them. You can cover your organization with Power BI Premium. The other great thing about this is you're getting double the capacity, essentially. So you buy what's called a P1, all right? There's the P1, P2, P3, these different SKUs we have. P1 gives you essentially 8 cores in the cloud, all right? It also gives you 8 cores of Power BI Report Server. This is really important because you have an organization that says this group can go to the cloud, this group can't. And there are a lot of those groups out there. I know this because people are asking me questions. Hey, I'm spinning up an Azure VM to try this out because we're interested in this in our part of the organization. So you can take that and then you get 8 cores on-prem to run Power BI Report Server. You also get a license as part of that if you want to run the catalog. Let's say for some reason you don't have a SQL Server licensing agreement with Microsoft. You poor, poor folks, because it is the greatest thing, all right? I was a SQL seller, so that's what I was interested in. The idea with that is, hey, if you need a SQL database to run your catalog on for this, you get a license for that as well as part of this. You don't have to have a separate SQL license to run your catalog. This is very important. Again, you can start with a P1, run part of your organization in the cloud, part of it on-prem. Let's say you do need to scale out just on-prem for some reason. If you have a SQL agreement that gives you enterprise with software assurance, one of your software assurance benefits is the rights to run Power BI Report Server. So you could run an additional 8 cores of Power BI Report Server, and it counts just like if you were running 8 cores of SSRS in a machine, SSIS, SQL, whatever. So again, each year, I don't want to get into licensing vagaries because I know nobody likes to get into that, but in terms of you have a true up, we go around, count your cores, you're running Power BI Report Server, it just gets counted as cores like you're running SQL on the box. If you're running multiple things on the box, it's just still counted as one box. Yes? No. I know where this is going. No, you do not get the rights to software assurance in that particular scenario. Any other questions? Yes? Power BI Report Server is an SA benefit you can leverage. You don't get any cloud benefits with your SQL EE SA licenses. This is also important. Let's say your organization is going to go to the cloud in 12, 18, 24 months. If you decide, hey, I'm going to go run this way with SQL EE with SA, then you want to migrate to Premium, guess what? You're going to have to pay that Premium license at that time. If you have Premium, you can just move your reports from on-prem to the cloud seamlessly. That's the whole point. This is something also to keep in mind. Yes? A less pricey option in the future. That I can't answer for you. Maybe talk to marketing. That's the great thing is I can bounce that over to marketing. I don't handle the pricing or licensing. I understand there's been some questions about this in the community. Happy to talk through it with you and see what your concerns are, but this is the plan as it stands right now. I think the idea is that, hey, look, there are options with Power BI in the cloud to run Pro, things like that, but I can't speak to future licensing options. I apologize. Something else to talk about here. You do need a Power BI Pro license. Hold on, let me take a drink of water before. You do need a Power BI Pro license to publish reports, whether it's on-prem or it's in the cloud. Now, this doesn't affect other report types in the product. You don't need a Pro license to create traditional SQL Server Reporting Services RDL reports. You don't need one for mobile reports because they were already part of SQL Server Reporting Services. However, you do need one for Power BI reports, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. And this is because there should be parity between the two solutions. I know some people get upset about this. I can understand to some extent. However, I would also say I think it is important that you keep a proper pricing model between the two in terms of, hey, look, Power BI reports, you need a pro license, whether you're publishing it either way. There is no technical check on this. Microsoft is very, especially in the SQL business, very much an honor-based system. It is counted, but there aren't named user licenses for this either. Something else to keep in mind, people are like, oh, I'm not buying a cloud license to run it on-prem. We don't do any sort of check that you're in the cloud. There is no connection you need to Azure to run this. It's just a way to license the product to give you flexibility. All right, so if you do want to go this direction, you want to use premium to do this, there is no check that it's running in Azure or check that it's connected to Azure. It's just a matter of this is the way the licensing is handled, and then you get the product for download and can run it. I'm sure some people will love that answer, some people won't like that answer. Happy to talk about it more throughout the conference, but again, I want to be open with you guys and try and give you the best possible information. Okay, migration and lifecycle support. So, how do I move from SSRS? It's actually quite simple, because at the end of the day, it's still SSRS under the covers. So you can move your reporting services catalog over to Power BI Report Server. You just take a backup, install a report server, and then connect the backup to it. Very simple. It's just like you were migrating from one version of SSRS to another. It's not quite an in-place upgrade, but it's pretty close. Most people have not run into this as a big challenge in terms of how they migrate their information. And it should just work. All right? A little bit more difficult mode. So, in November of last year, we had a blog post talking about kind of the future of SharePoint integration as it related to reporting services. Any of you familiar with this blog post or announcement from last year? Poor Ricardo. He worked so hard on that blog post and nobody raised their hand. All right. So we announced with 2016 that would be the last version of SQL Server Reporting Services that would have a SharePoint integrated mode. That mode no longer exists either in Power BI Report Server or in SQL Server Reporting Services 2017. We got feedback very loud and clear from customers that they wanted the option to integrate with SharePoint, but not the requirement to integrate with SharePoint. If any of you have ever set up SharePoint with all the BI pieces, you have my deepest sympathies, all right? It is extremely challenging. I've done it about 20 to 30 times. I can tell you I've done it half, and they worked just fine, and half they didn't work at all. I had no idea what I did differently, but yet that was a problem. So what we've done, in fact, as of Friday, is we released what was the original way to integrate reporting services into SharePoint, which was with a web part. So this web part is now in preview, but it's specific to RDL reports, the traditional SSRS reports that have been around for quite some time. As far as Power BI reports and their embedding into SharePoint, right now we only have a lightweight embedding option, which is with a URL parameter for an iframe. What we don't have is the full embed experience like you can get right now with SharePoint Online and the Power BI service. It is in our plans, and we are actively talking to the team that handles Power BI embedding about how we can leverage the JavaScript API and have a similar type of embedding experience between the server and SharePoint on-prem, or even the server and SharePoint Online potentially. That is something we're actively working on. It probably won't make it in the next update for the product, but I would expect it shortly thereafter. No pressure, Reese or Parth. Yes? Yes. So when you're integrating the stuff from integrated mode to native mode, one of the challenges was we didn't have this web part before that. These things. What is going on with this mic? You know, I didn't want a head mic because I'd look like one of those televangelists, but maybe that would have been a good thing. So the ability to move from integrated mode to native mode, the web part as it previously existed was missing some of the functionality you got there. The happy path. Then yes, it should be happy for you in terms of it. It should just work. So yes, the happy path should just work. It's never as happy as I think it'll be, but yes. All right? Yes? just modern. Yeah. Classic SharePoint. That is fairly old SharePoint. All right. The lifecycle policy. Now, interesting thing about this, actually Reese was on this trip with me. This was last year in June. We flew out to Philadelphia, went to my old district, went to a Microsoft Technology Center there, and we actually brought a bunch of customers in. We asked them questions around, hey, what we want to do with this product is we want to update it more frequently than we have with SSRS in the past. Power BI Desktop was never designed for an on-premises product. It was designed for the cloud. That product updates every month with brand new features and functionalities. It also has a small analysis services engine running under the covers that also gets updated every single month. How many people think their organization would be comfortable with somebody updating the servers every single month with new patches for Power BI? Okay, no one. All right, Reese, note that no one said they would be willing to do that. This is important because we then have to come up with a solution for you folks. So what we talked with customers about, and we asked this very specific question, how often would you be comfortable updating your server to get new features and functionalities and bug fixes? And the answer we got was maybe 3 to 4 times a year. However, we would want the ability to skip one now and again, because again, depending on their update lifecycle. We were told very specifically by some organizations, it's not our job to patch servers all the time. It's something we have to do as a tax as part of our job. So what we have right now is we have what we're thinking of as a 3 to 4 times a year. So with June, we had a release come out, and then for the time in between the June release and the next release, so if I say 3 to 4 times, you can kind of do the math of the months of when the next release might be coming. And you notice we've actually had 1 or 2 updates that we've pushed out that are still called June 2017. These were to address some bugs people were having. And then after the release comes next, we'll only issue security updates for that June 2017 release. So when you call support as part of your support agreement, you say, hey, I have a bug that's part of this product, we'll say, great, you've got to update to the next version of the product. We fixed it in that. But you notice you don't have to update right then. You can skip the release that's coming soon and then update perhaps the next time. So you're looking at having to update once a year if you want to. If you want to do it more frequently, obviously a lot of organizations will. You'll have that ability to do so. But you have to update at least once a year to stay in line with what the security updates will be coming and stay compliant, basically. This is a big change from previous when SQL Server Reporting Services, it was supported for 17 years potentially you could get patches with some of these extended support agreements. This is a lot of work on the team side to maintain all these different branches of the product, issue bug fixes for it, et cetera. And with such a rapid release cadence coming, and with things being updated so rapidly, not only in the visuals and things like that, but under the covers with analysis services, it would have been impossible to try and maintain that type of life cycle. Now, somebody asked the question, hey, do you still have a separate version of the desktop than you do from the service? The answer right now for that is yes. And we talked to people about exactly why this is and what's the best way for this to handle this. To be clear, what we'd like to do is to have a single unified version of the desktop that you can do. But there are some very significant technical challenges to that the teams, both us and the desktop team, are working through. So what we came up with is, with each server release, there is a desktop release that is matched to that server. And your organization should distribute that version of the desktop that matches that version of the server. The idea here is that for some organizations, let's say you've bought Premium, and you have certain people in your organization that want to publish to the cloud, and certain people that want to publish on-prem. You can use that version of the desktop, the one that's optimized for report server, to do both if you so choose. The publish option is still there to publish to the service, and the ability to save to the server is still there as well. The big difference is what you can't do from the services potentially is to download it back and reopen it in that version of the desktop. Because what happens when you use it with the service is that it'll upgrade it if it happens to be a lower version of the product. So this is something where you can do the vast majority of what you need to do with that slightly older version of the desktop potentially, and not have to use the one that comes out each month for the service. However, if you do want to use the one that comes out each month, you can install these things side by side. So you can have one that's for the server and the one that's for the service, both on the same machine. This is an important point to keep in mind because people aren't aware of this sometimes. I understand that this is not potentially the optimal situation for your organization. We want to get to a single version of the desktop. We will get to a single version of the desktop at some point. It's just a matter of resources and timing. Any questions on that point? Yes? That's an excellent team to ask the Power BI desktop team because I think they'll have some conversation about how they're potentially automating their install. So when that session comes up this week with Will and Miguel, ask the same question. This is one of the advantages of going first. I can punt those questions over to the team. So again, as I talked about, you need to coordinate the deployment of these updates. Try not to get in a situation where you're running an older version of desktop with the version of the server, or running a new version of desktop with the server, because then it won't work. Yes? Yes, they are cumulative. So the question was, are these cumulative updates? Yes. All these bug fixes will all show up in the later version. Good question. Yes? So the question was around shared data sets in an organization. This is a good question because it comes up quite a bit. If you're familiar with SQL Server Reporting Services, you know that there has been this concept for some time about create shared data sources and shared data sets. The plan is, and you can't do this right now, when you upload a report in the service, you can reuse that data set that you created as part of that report and create new reports against it. We don't have that capability in the server yet. But I can tell you that that is planned to be made available at some point. In terms of what would happen with the traditional shared data sets in SSRS, where you can create all sorts of reports against that, one of the things that we have on our roadmap is, hey, can we move the data stack, the traditional data providers we've had, SQL Server, these other things, move away from that and move towards using the Power Query stack, which runs in Excel and Power BI right now. So you get all the data sources there, and then make those shared data sets available to all the different report types. That's on a little bit of a longer term roadmap, but that is something that we are trying to do. So the idea is that you can use your Power BI reports loaded up and eventually have the ability to use that or the shared data sets that currently exist. Yeah. I think it depends on your organization. So the question is, is the best idea to just publish that up and then just share it in your organization? There's a couple things you could do. You could do that, and then you're the owner of the report. You can make your changes locally, save it up. We will have the ability to refresh that data in the server. Or you can publish to analysis services and use a live AS connection as a way to centralize your data source and create multiple reports against analysis services, which is what a lot of organizations do because, again, they're worried about the size, the sprawl within their organization of the different data sets. So you could use SQL Server data tools or something to create an analysis services model and then publish that up. Does that answer your question? You could do either one. You can publish it to the server, you just can't reuse the data set, and you can publish it to analysis services so it can be reused broadly. Excuse me? Yes, until your users use that data source, exactly. All right, so what's next? For many of you, this is the big part of what you were looking for here. We're making very good time, so I'm happy to take questions as we move through this as well. So, this year, as I mentioned, in June, we published Power BI Report Server GA. So the first version of the product that was production supported was made available back at the Data Insights Summit in June. You could publish Power BI files, you could install the product, you could install it in a scale-out mode if you chose, and you could use a live connection to analysis services. We did that because we got a lot of feedback like, we want this GA, we want this production ready. Our organization just uses live analysis services data models, just like they did with Power View and SharePoint, for example. So we got that, made that available. It was available for folks as of June. A few weeks ago, in our preview in August, we added 2 big new features. You know, I'm a very passionate individual. When I had to convince my wife of why I wanted to move to Redmond, it was to work on things like this. The fact that we can now take any data source, connect it to data models, and load it up to the server, and use Excel workbooks, so you have a single server with all of your report types, is just an incredible step forward when you think about where the Microsoft BI story has been over the last few years. Because you had all these different places where you could run reports, and you didn't have a central location. Now you have a single story where you can use Power BI in the cloud or Power BI on-prem, and you're really running all of your report types. All right, so with the August preview, and again, I'm going to demonstrate these features here with the August preview on what you can do with embedded models and Excel workbooks. What's coming in the fall update, so Q4 of this calendar year. Scheduled data refresh. So people love the ability to load their data up in the cloud or onto the server, but they want to refresh it to get the latest data, right? I assume. Direct query. This was actually an interesting thing because they're like, hey, you support live connection to analysis services. Why don't you support direct query? Because direct query under the cover still needs analysis services, which we didn't have yet in the product in June. So with the introduction of AS running under the covers here, and the ability to enter credentials to connect to your data source, then you got the ability to do direct query. And in fact, when I was working with Reese and the engineers on scoping this particular requirement out, it became very clear that doing the work for scheduled data refresh and direct query was basically the same work. You needed the ability to load this up to analysis services, connect to your data model, and get the latest information. It's just a difference of, am I refreshing the data, or am I connecting live to it using AS as the gateway to do so? Large file support. In the preview, we had the ability to upload up to 50 megs. For the vast majority of users, this was fine, but we have certain users that are MVPs, other folks, they need to do larger data models than this. You'll have the ability to do much larger data models than 50 meg. Right now, it looks like you'll be able to do up to about 2 gig, which is similar to what you could do in SharePoint with Excel. Okay, so you could do up to a 2 gigabyte model. And then public REST API. This one's brand new for most folks. Haven't heard about this, so I get to announce a little bit of news here. As of SQL Server Reporting Services 2017, which is coming out now October 2nd, as you heard, for many years, people have developed against the SOAP API in reporting services. How many people have done that here? A few. Okay. John, yes, I know you've done that. Okay. A lot of people were looking to use the REST API, which was first introduced with the introduction of mobile reports in 2016. You'll now have a publicly documented REST API you can develop with reporting services and Power BI report server. So you'll have the ability to use this in your applications and call it programmatically, just like you could with the SOAP API for many of the same operations. So again, you're going to see a lot more about this coming next week with the release of SSRS 2017, including the documentation, some of the different calls you can make. And I'm sure we'll be talking more about this throughout this week as I talk to each of you individually. Yes? The integration with TFS. You should be able to do integration with TFS to some extent with the traditional reports. I'm not sure about the Power BI reports. I'll have to look into that. Or ask Reese. I'm just kidding. Last point, the SharePoint web part. As I mentioned, you'll now have the SharePoint web part already in preview. Somebody here has already done a blog about it, without mentioning names. And there's the RDL report you can surface through there at this time. Embedded model support in Power BI report server. The very first spec I did for this was a blank PowerPoint slide. And no, that's not because I don't know how to write a spec, all right? The idea there was it should just work the same way as if you're using it in June, meaning you go and set up Power BI report server as of the next update, and everything just works. There is no special setup, there is no add-ins, there is no things you have to do to try and get this working, as you had to do in the past with, say, the SharePoint story. The whole idea here is you can be up and running with the product in no time and do nothing special to get your Power BI reports working. You'll have the data connectivity options that you have in desktop. At GA of this feature coming soon, you will not have scheduled data refresh for all of the data sources that are supported in Power BI Desktop. They won't be supported for things in preview. It won't be supported for things that use OAuth authentication right now, things like Facebook or Salesforce. You could work around that, potentially using the APIs, to pull down the file, refresh it locally, and save it back up to the server. But there are some challenges there with authentication we have to work through before we can officially support those in the product. But the major ones, things like SQL Server, Oracle, the SAP data sources, things like that, you should expect to see those supported in the product, both for refreshing the data and direct query. Excel workbooks in the product. So, with the introduction of SharePoint 2016, the Office and SharePoint team introduced this concept of, okay, everything that has to do with the Office suite is kind of pulled out and runs as a separate product, which is unfortunately named Office Online Server. Even though it's a server running on-prem, what that means is we took the boxed up online experience and have it as a server product. You still need Office Online Server to run the Excel workbooks here. But the fact that they did that made this possible for us, because there's no way we could have possibly done the work to build all of the Excel capabilities directly into reporting services or report server. So with this, you have rights to run Office Online Server in read-only mode as long as your organization has a subscription of some sort with Office with Microsoft. Even if it's only a few users, you can go to the Volume Licensing Center, download the product, and run it in read-only mode, and there's no additional licensing cost. We only support it in read-only mode in the product, okay? We've also tried to make it as simple as possible for you to get this up and running. You do have to do a little bit of PowerShell just to get the service starting in terms of Office, but right in the UI, you have the ability to set the URL for Excel, and then you'll just be up and running. We support basic Excel workbooks. We support live connections to analysis services, which a lot of people have been looking for in terms of the product in the cloud. We already have support for that here. We also have support for Power Pivot workbooks. However, we don't quite yet have support for refreshing those workbooks directly in the product. They still run as they did in SharePoint, where you need a separate server running in Power Pivot mode. We optimize the team to do the work around the Power BI refresh first, and then we'll get to the Power Pivot work shortly thereafter. Again, you can work around this using the APIs. I know someone who has a tool called Power Update. You can go take the product, refresh it, save it back up to the service. That's something you could do here as well, potentially, if they add support for Report Server. So there are ways to work around that. For most people, honestly, they've been telling us, hey, we want a live AS connection to Excel. That was a big use case. Questions on this so far? Really? Or am I just keeping you from happy hour? I'm surprised. I understand. Oh, so this right here is a screenshot of the Excel workbook you actually get with the product in the Azure VM. It's a sample workbook. We had to find the data source that we knew we could get clearances for and things like that. This is actually my moving sale from Philadelphia here. As people noticed, it was a very jaunty office with toys and things like that. My wife was thrilled to learn that the data was being used for that. So, enhanced developer support. As I mentioned, the public REST API. This is a big one. I mean, this is something that comes up all the time. So things around manageability, moving this data between servers, this is a big one that comes up in the context of the different items. That's all part of the public REST API, being able to pull the file down, push files up in a batch, things like that. URL parameters for Power BI reports. This is something that gets asked about quite a bit. People want the ability to take a URL and have parameters passed as part of that to their report, just like they've done in reporting services for quite some time. It is our current plan to support that in the upcoming update of Power BI Report Server. So you'll have URL-based parameters like you do for mobile reports and paginated reports. And the SharePoint web part. Again, this is specific to RDL, but focusing on that SharePoint embedding scenario, I think that John and Jason are going to have some more information on this in the session Wednesday, talking about SharePoint and BI and how you can integrate your stuff there. We do have support for an embed URL. I'm going to show you a little trick here in a moment around that. But again, very focused on the developer scenarios. A lot of scenarios that we get talked about is external access to customers. You know, how can I make my reports available outside the organization? This is something we don't have in our plan for this next release, but I can tell you one of the things at the top of our list of getting support in there is native support for things like ADFS and Azure AD. So this is something that'll help open up a lot of those scenarios as opposed to using things like web application proxy in the context of Windows Server, things like that. Any questions before I move to the demo? Okay. So, switch back over here. You guys liking what you see so far? It's funny, I'm getting applause. I used to co-present these with Ricardo. If you've seen Ricardo Muti speak, he's the general group program manager for reporting services. He used to get applause for, hey, you can print now. And I was like, wow, what a low bar you've got when you get applause for you can print now. And then I go and do a presentation, I'm like, hey, look, it's Excel. And everyone's like, oh, well, that's not. I was like, come on, he just said you could print. All right. So we're back to our demo server and back to, okay, so if you look at, I ran this report earlier. If I go to manage, you see here I've got data sources here. And I've got my data source information here because this is a live connection to analysis services. So I have a live AS server running behind the scenes for this particular report. Well, what if I don't need analysis services anymore? If I go to my eBay report, all right, I go to manage, what you see right now is just properties and security because this is using an embedded data model. There is no dependency on analysis services. What you will see here, and in fact, I was just working with the designer on these additional menus, is you'll see data sources. So you can have all the different data sources that show up in your report, whether they be SAP, SQL, Oracle, things like that. So you can set your credentials. And you'll see scheduled refresh. So you can set all of your refresh schedules. If you've ever used cache refresh in SQL Server Reporting Services, which I don't want to dive into right now, but it's basically the same things in terms of the scheduling process. It's very, very straightforward. You can choose multiple schedules for your item. You aren't limited to once a day like you were in SharePoint with Power Pivot. You can set it for multiple times throughout the day. So this is another piece of news that I'm sure I'll get in trouble for mentioning, but that's something else you'll be able to do. And what else I can do here, if I go into the report, it'll just work like I would expect it to if I was using any Power BI report. So again, this is an old eBay report for my wife. Again, and she's going to kill me knowing that I've used all these things for her from quite some time ago. If I click on this, again, fully interactive here in terms of what I can do with it. You aren't losing anything in terms of functionality when you're using the embedded data. It should just work for you in the August preview. Again, can't refresh it, but you can show your users what this experience will be like. I can call out a visual just like I can in the service, and I can go back to my report. All right, very, very straightforward in terms of what you're able to do here. And again, embedded data just works. In terms of Excel, again, this is an Excel workbook you get as part of this. Office Online Server is actually running behind the scenes when you go and say, hey, I want to run this Power BI report server test dev environment. We do all of that hard work for you. It's not that hard, but it's hard enough that it's like, hey, we'll make this as simple as possible. You go through the wizard in Azure, you spin this up, and everything's just working. And again, this is just a normal Excel workbook. I can click through it, fully interactive, no issues here in terms of working with the data. This is a great way to have your users consolidate all of their information on a single box so they have a single way to kind of look at all of this stuff here. Another neat trick you can do with this. So let's say, God forbid, you're using one of those competitor products that potentially you need to link content off to with reporting. You want to say, hey, I still want people all to go to a single portal. For some reason you don't want to use SharePoint or you want to use Report Server for this. There's actually a little trick here that I'm not sure many people are aware of. If I go into a KPI, all right, and I can actually just set a KPI as a static value, there's something here called related content, which is a custom URL, and I can enter any URL that I want and check that direct navigation box, and what will happen is that KPI will literally become just a pointer to another report. This is great if you want to just go in there and so you saw one of these KPIs said North America. I can type that to say whatever I want to. It doesn't have to be data that updates or refresh or anything, but it could just say sales report in such and such system. It gives you a way to kind of consolidate that even more. I'm not sure if everybody's aware of that, but again, I get asked about that quite a bit, so I wanted to highlight that as well. I talked a little bit about the embed scenario, so let me just, I'm going to give this a shot. Normally, you don't give a demo a shot unless you're sure it'll work. I want to do this just because I'm connected to CorpNet here. So in PowerPoint, starting in 2013, there was this thing where you saw the Office store where you could have apps added to PowerPoint. One of the apps that you could add to your PowerPoint, which is basically an add-in, is a web viewer. A lot of people love the ability for their PowerPoint slides to show live content. You can put in a URL with this rs embed equals true and see live content in your PowerPoint deck. So again, this has connecting to CorpNet here. It spins up. This is a preview. Excel Online spins up. Ta-da! I have live Excel in my PowerPoint deck. You can do this with any report, including Power BI reports, in your workbook. So again, this is fully interactive. That's what people have asked for. So as part of their PowerPoint presentation, as long as you have PowerPoint 2013, 2016, or PowerPoint as part of Office 365, you have this ability to see this live in a PowerPoint slide. What's that? Oh, sure. See, he's trying to get me to break it, and so I'm onto your game there, sir. All right. Again, my only concern here was because it was in CorpNet, but see, you thought you had me there, didn't you? Yeah, no problem. But again, fully interactive, just to make sure. Yep. This is a big deal. So I have a little blog. It's a nice way for me to kind of save tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. ChristopherFinland.com. This isn't me shilling for my blog, but I talk about up here, hey, you can do this in SSRS 2016 or in Power BI Report Server for mobile reports, for Power BI reports, because people loved this when it was available as part of Power View in SharePoint. This was the thing when I would go and do an executive demo, people got all fired up about, was this ability to have a live connection to a PowerPoint slide and actually interact with the data. You have export to PowerPoint right now for reports in the Power BI service and in the Power BI Report Server. This is a way to take it to a whole new level. Fully interactive, easy to set up, but just need an HTTPS address. That was kind of an audible I called at the last minute to kind of show this stuff. See, now I'm in presentation mode and I can't get out. Thanks. Sorry, I can switch back over to my slides. Any questions on anything I've shown so far? Yes? Yes. So the question was around, hey, for Power BI reports, there's this new mobile view that Power BI makes available where you can optimize your reports for a mobile layout. Can you do that and work with the report server? The answer is yes. And those will be respected if you use the Power BI app to connect to your report server and view those reports. So if you use, and I kind of briefly touched on this earlier, but it brings up a good point, you get a mobile experience with Power BI report server. You get the ability to view mobile reports, which was based on the DataZen technology and introduced in 2016, and you get the ability to view Power BI reports, which is obviously available as part of Power BI report server. So you'll see both of those types in your mobile app, whether it be on iOS, Android, Windows 10, and you also get KPIs. So all of those things you'll be able to view and make available to your mobile device, and as the data updates, it'll also be available for your device. So that was a good question to bring that up and remind me. Yes? So the big thing for the Power BI report, so the question was, hey, how would you talk about the differences between the Power BI service and Power BI report server? As I mentioned at the beginning, the focus for the report server is very specifically on the report type. So it is the idea to give folks a way to leverage Power BI desktop and the functionality there in the context of an on-premises environment. The service is obviously going to be able to iterate faster, introduce new capabilities at a more rapid scale, but their focus, and they'll go on to things like dashboards. You saw a bunch of neat stuff in Kamal's session today around some of the what-if stuff and some of the stuff with Azure Machine Learning. The focus for here is really to concentrate on the stuff that's available in Power BI reports and give people a way to manage that content and also a bridge to the cloud as they move forward. In terms of specific functionality, if it's something that shows up in Power BI desktop, the idea is we'd like to bring it to the product on-prem because that's where our support focus is. So things like Esri maps, people have asked about that. It is something we'd like to support as well. So that's really where our focus is, and that's kind of the path going forward. One of the questions I'm going to bring up preemptively is one of the questions that often comes up is, all sounds great, but there's something missing from the Power BI service, which is RDL reports. There is plans to bring RDL reports to the service at some point. I can't give you an exact date on that because, again, it's more of a scheduling resourcing thing, but there is plans, both the Power BI team and our team, fully in agreement. We need to do this. We should be trying to do this at some point in the near future. It's just a matter of getting that work done. And then you'll see more of the symmetry there in terms of the two products with the report types that are available. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. Yes? Yes. Yes, you can. All your Power Pivot workbooks can be moved over. Like I said, we don't quite have scheduled data refresh for them yet. There is a way to work around that, but we are planning to bring that as soon as we can after this next update. Yes? Excuse me? Usage metrics. This is a good question because this came up not that long ago on the forums, I believe, or internally. In Power BI Report Server and in SSRS, we do have execution logs in the SQL database. There are actually 3 views that we have there, very specifically you can use to view these types of metrics. Those have been updated to collect metrics around things like Excel workbooks, mobile reports, Power BI reports. One of the things I was hoping to do for this release, but we may not quite get to, is actually build some Power BI reports that are pointing at that information and just pre-ship them with the product. Give people some templates where they can easily kind of get it as opposed to having to go in and run the SQL query and kind of pull it out. There's similar experience, maybe similar, but a better experience than what we've had in some other products in the past around that type of thing. But the idea here is we have all that information there. It's fairly easy to get to because it's just in a SQL table. And thinking of different ways we can make that more available to our users. Other questions? Yes?
Currently using Power BI Gateway, I
Okay.
would imagine there's going to be more touching to local sources with Power BI Server. Is there going to be a pre-flight check before you publish that up into Power BI Cloud?
So the question was around, hey, is using the gateway, is there some sort of pre-flight check before you publish that to the cloud if you also publish it on-prem? There's no plans for that right now. It's an interesting idea. I'd like to talk to you more about that. I mean, there is no dependency on the gateway with Power BI Report Server. You can just publish it on-prem. It all should just work. There's no dependency there, but that is an interesting idea in terms of how you could bring more synergy between the two. So, in review, did we cover all these questions for you? Did I miss anything? If I did, tell me. I make mistakes. My wife will tell you a laundry list of these. I love my wife dearly. I'm not picking on her. She makes a convenient foil for these presentations. Yes? That is something, so the question was around, hey, can we get PDF delivery, email delivery of these type of reports in the product at some point? That's something we would like to do. We just haven't gotten to it yet. So we have that already now for traditional SSRS reports. This is something we'd like to do also for Power BI reports in the product. Yes?
Yeah, about 2016, last year, SQL Server.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to use reporting server, Power BI. Is there an upgrade we have that lets me do that? Not software assurance, just
You need software assurance or you need to buy Power BI Premium. There is no direct upgrade for that. And a lot of that is around the support lifecycle and the need there for software assurance, which always gives you the latest version of the product. There's some vagaries in terms of the SQL Server licensing where, hey, we're going to support this thing for 17 years, and you run into challenges there. You guys liking what you're hearing? Yeah. Yes? The question is, will Power BI Report Server replace SQL Server Reporting Services? This is a good question because this often comes up. No. There is no plans to replace SQL Server Reporting Services. However, you'll probably see innovations happen here first, then trickle down to reporting services if it's a feature that both products have. For example, security. We add security features to the server. That's something that just makes sense to trickle down to reporting services. But again, the reporting services release cycle is timed with SQL Server. It's not something that the team controls in terms of a month, quarterly release cadence. right? But there is no intention, and I state this unequivocally, there's no intention to simply get rid of reporting services. Now, could they do that someday? Sure. They could also sunset any number of things that are available. They could get rid of SharePoint or SQL Server or any number of these things. There's no plans for the SQL team to throw away all that revenue and goodness they get out of reporting services. But I do think you'll see innovation happen here first and then come to reporting services as each release happens, if it makes sense. Did that answer your question? Okay. Yes? Yes. The question was, when we released SQL Server 2017, what are we releasing? We're releasing SQL Server Reporting Services, SQL Server 2017 Reporting Services, which is available in all the SKUs it was in before, without any of the Power BI stuff. This is a little confusing because we originally did a preview called Power BI Reports and SQL Server Reporting Services way back in October and January. And that was confusing, folks. And it made sense to kind of come up with a name that aligned with the product and the brand and, hey, this is a superset of SSRS functionality with this new self-service capabilities you get with Power BI and Excel. Correct. SSRS 2017, in fact, Reese will tell you, Parth, I think, is here now, the engineers. We were just working on this as of a few weeks ago, making sure everything's buttoned up, product looks good, be ready to ship on October 2nd. Again, it'll be a separate download, so when you go to the SQL install media, it'll have a link saying, hey, you want to install reporting services? Download it here. I saw another question in the back. Yes? Sure. Yes. So the question is, hey, can you still pin stuff from SSRS to Power BI in the cloud? The answer is yes. That functionality is still there. Other questions? I see, half the room kind of stayed around, which is good. Yes, I'm sorry. So the question was, when should we use Power View or Power BI Report Server versus SQL? There's really no reason. If you have rights to run Power BI Report Server, unless you have an IT organization that is very, very conservative and just doesn't want to update ever, or you don't need the self-service functionality in Power BI reports or Excel workbooks, then you can run SSRS. But really, in every scenario, Power BI Report Server is giving you everything you get with SQL Server Reporting Services and much more. So there's really no reason not to do that. There could be. I'm sure somebody will figure out something and tell me about it, and then I'll feel bad. But other questions? Yes? So the question was, hey, is there any additional map functionality in Power BI Server, Power BI Report Server? So you get the map functionality you got with RS for some time, and then any new map capabilities that come in Power BI reports. So you have Bing Maps there and things like that. The thing I mentioned is a lot of people want the Esri capabilities. That's what we would like to do at some point, but we just don't have it yet. Excuse me? It should support latitude and longitude, yes. No, so that's a good point. So our visuals are not yet supported in the product because we need R running behind the scenes. That is something we want to do, but there's some work there because we have to go figure out, hey, how do we best integrate R here so people go and set that up? Do we spin it up for them automatically? Make sure everything's working. So that is a big ask that we want to get to. We just haven't gotten to it yet. All right, I think we've got 1 minute left, so I'll take one more question, and then I'll stick around for a little while. There's some other folks here from the team. Thank you very much for staying here. Really appreciate it. So one last question.